Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be ranking my favorite Assassin's Creed games from least favorite to favorite. Today's ranking will contain the following games: Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, Black Flag, Rogue, Unity, Syndicate, Origins, and Odyssey. With that being said, this is my list in my opinion. If you have one that differs from mine, please feel free to talk with me in the comments about it. And of course, one last thing, this is my list of favorite Assassin's Creed games. That means the ones that I had the most fun playing, not the ones that I think are the best. Now, let's get into the ranking. At number 11, Assassin's Creed 2. Much like my list of favorite Assassins, I know this is a touchy thing to say. I am not a fan of Assassin's Creed 2. It's easily my least favorite AC game, and it always has been. I didn't enjoy playing it all those years ago, and I didn't enjoy replaying it again this year. It's possibly the ugliest AC game to look at. I didn't enjoy Ezio in the slightest. I was bored by the story and the side characters. I hated the villain. I just did not enjoy the game at all. This game is the worst in the series and the only game I hated having to replay this year. Brotherhood takes the 10th spot on my list of favorite AC games. It's in this spot because I didn't enjoy the story and still did not like Ezio in this game. The villain in this one is my least favorite of all Assassin's Creed villains. Black Flag gets a lot of shit for its tailing missions, but Brotherhood was far worse in my opinion due to the amount of time you spend following people around. I hated every single mission in this game. Nothing about it was memorable back then, and the only thing that was memorable about it this time around was a small bug that happened during my playthrough this year. It was held back by a boring hero and even more boring villain. At number 9, Assassin's Creed 1. Altair made my top 3 favorite assassins in the series, but his game does not make my top 3 favorite games. While the character is amazing, the world is ugly even for a game that came out in 2007. The climbing in the game was just on the struggle bus for my entire playthrough. I absolutely hated all things resembling side content in this game. This title came out 6 days before Uncharted 1, and Uncharted was a far superior climbing experience in every aspect as far as I'm concerned. The story is good, the main character is basically unforgettable, but playing the game isn't a great experience at all, and it surprises me that something that was this clunky, even in 2007, got a sequel. At number 8, Assassin's Creed 3. Probably the second most polarizing entry in the series. Assassin's Creed 3 is a game with a lead character I both love and hate. The reasons for that can be found in my Assassin's Creed ranking video. 3 ranks above the other games for its fun parkour system and simply amazing combat, but it lacks in its overall campaign, mostly due to spending hours playing what is revealed to not be the main character. No one likes a bait and switch. At number 7, Assassin's Creed Rogue. One of my favorite stories of any Assassin's Creed game is that of Shay Patrick Cormac. The game is basically a copy and paste of Black Flag, but with less to do. It's super fun to play in the ocean, but less so on land. I firmly believe that the combat in this game was a step back from where it was in Assassin's Creed 3. Things like the sound cutting out in combat, weird animation bugs, and other things keep it out of my top 3, but should not keep you from understanding that I adore this entry in the AC series. It's such a good and fun game. The campaign is great, the main character is great and different from what you're used to by this point in the series. If it wasn't for when this game was released, I believe it would be more beloved by the community. At number 6, Assassin's Creed Revelations. Perhaps if this was a list of best Assassin's Creed games, this would be higher. While I am not far off from saying that I actually despise Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, I cannot come close to saying that about Revelations. While young Ezio is someone that I hate, that could not be further from the truth about old Ezio. I love his character in this game. I love this game. I love the story. I love how it ties into Assassin's Creed 1. I love the fighting. I love the climbing. I love the city. I love the colors. I love the sound. I love the side characters. The villain is a bit weak, but everything else in this game is strong enough for me to overlook that. I wouldn't ever want to go back and play Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood ever again. Literally ever again. But I actually already want to go back to Revelations. It's genuinely a game that you shouldn't miss in the series. If you haven't played any of the Ezio trilogy, make sure you at least play this one. You won't regret it. At number 5, Assassin's Creed Origins. Bayek of Siwa ranks very high on my list of favorite assassins. If you haven't seen that video, you should go see where he ranks. That being said, Origins is an amazing game. Do not miss it. If you haven't played Origins, then you're wasting time. Go get the game and play it. The voice acting, the story, Aya, the side missions, the world, everything in this game is outstanding. Even getting the trophies for this game was something I found fun. The change in formula that happened with Origins is something the series needed up to this point, and it worked for Origins. It's a game that takes you back to the very beginning of the Brotherhood of Assassins and shows you where it all began. The combat is changed to a much different style, and the climbing reflects developers playing way too much Shadow of Mordor. Everything done in this game works very well coming off of the back of Syndicate. It may feel different than an Assassin's Creed game should, but this is a list of my favorite AC games, not the best. That's another list for another time. This is based off of the fun and enjoyment I had while playing the game, which is why this comes into this spot. At number 4, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'll say this very plainly. If this was a list of best Assassin's Creed games, Odyssey would not be here. Odyssey is so far from an Assassin's Creed game that it should be a crime to have the series name on this title. The game takes the idea of Origins and basically expands almost all of it for the better. The gear, the inventory, and the skill trees are far better in this entry than in the previous. The ship combat is also far better. The world, while not as gorgeous or mesmerizing, is much better to explore. The ability to do builds focused on warrior, hunter, and assassin is also something that I love. Having grown up on things like Diablo 2, this gives me a lot more replay value in the game. Sadly, the story and characters in this game lack and fall short. This is what keeps it from making the top 3. Coming in at number 3 on my list of favorite Assassin's Creed games is Syndicate. I'm not a huge fan of Evie, but I adore her brother Jacob. I loved London, minus the goofy grappling hook to move around. The setting was very nice. The world looked great. I very much enjoyed the villain. Crawford Sterrick was a villain I look forward to seeing in every cutscene that he was in. The skills and gang upgrades were very enjoyable. More than anything else, though, I fell in love with the combat of Syndicate. It was and still is my favorite combat for any Assassin's Creed game to date. Even in my most recent playthrough, I had such a good time grouping Sterrick's men and just going to town with Knuckles, a Kukri, or a Kane. Even after finishing the game again, I went back in several times just for a handful of fights, just to see the animations and beatdowns I could provide from Jacob Fry. The game doesn't have the strongest story, and it falls off when it comes time to play the other main character, but it really holds up with Jacob, the setting, the city, and the combat for me. Wonderful entry in the series. Coming in at number 2 is Assassin's Creed Unity. Oh, Assassin's Creed Unity, how I love you so dearly. I didn't feel the bugs like so many of you did. I didn't gather a hatred for this game based on that, and apparently I was very lucky. But my luck doesn't take away from this game. It's beautiful even today. I love Arno Dorian. I love the story of the game, Arno's time with Elise. I love the setting and the city. Putting gear together and finding a weapon you like was my top 3 best points in the series at the time. You can go into this game today and see a beautiful, well put together and fun experience that you're very unlikely to find in most games that followed this. And if you have played it before and didn't like it, I challenge you to go back to it today and leave with the same experience. The campaign, characters, and content of this game easily elevate it to my second position, as it's one of the most fun and memorable times I've ever had playing an Assassin's Creed game. I'll never forget this game or the happiness it brought me. My number 1 spot could be no other game in this series than this. Assassin's Creed Black Flag is by far the best game in the series. In 2020, it is still the best game in the series. After 2020, it will still be the best game in the series. I'm looking at you, Valhalla. This game is the buggiest, messiest, glitchiest, weirdest Assassin's Creed game on the market. Over the years, I've heard so much stuff about Unity and everything that happened to players, how it's the buggiest game for everyone, but not for this guy. Black Flag in my original playthrough and all the ones I've had since have been riddled with bugs and glitches, but I just can't look at it in a bad light. This game saved the series for me. I had given up on it after everything with the Ezio trilogy and truly not liking 3 at the time. I didn't know what was going to happen going into Black Flag, but when I played it, when I experienced the story, the character, and the combat, more so on the water than land, everything changed for me. This is one of the most unforgettable games I have ever touched. I'll never forget the smallest things about when I first played this, like the room I was in, what others around me were doing, and other little things like that. This game caused me to take in so much while I was playing it. Black Flag has the best ship combat, one of the best worlds, an amazing story when you're in the Animus, wonderful side characters, a ton of fun side content, those fucking sea shanties that all these years later I still hear in my head while I'm showering, and most importantly for me, the ending. Watching the ending with Edward, listening to that someone sing a song, watching Edward thinking about wanting and wishing for all of his friends to be around him, seeing the journey that he's gone through, I really do feel emotional every time I see it. It's truly the best Assassin's Creed game with the best moments in the series for me. No game in the entire series comes even close to the top spot for me. Unity came in second and can't hold a candle to Black Flag. It will more than likely forever be the best in the series for me. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the video. Regardless of your thoughts on my opinion, I'd love to know what you're thinking. Get in the comments below and tell me what you think of the content and what your thoughts on each game was. I appreciate the comments more than subs and likes. If you're watching this and my other videos, I want to get to know you and interact with you. Hit me up in the comments or on Twitter. I really appreciate you guys and hope to catch you in whatever comes next. Take care.